special stewards of this land, the Ramaytush Ohlone, understand the interconnectedness of all things and the importance of maintaining harmony with nature. Likewise, Pacifica School District commits to teaching our school community how to be responsible stewards of this land.
Thank you. Barbara, would you take the roll call?
Yes, Trustee Berdal.
Here.
Trustee Burkini.
Here.
Trustee Doggett.
Here.
Trustee Patel.
Here.
Trustee Villalobos.
Here. Thank you. The district digitally records the audio portion of the meetings. All recordings are kept in the superintendent's office for 30 days and are available during that time period for inspection by members of the public on district equipment without charge. In-person speakers wishing to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items, please complete a request card with your name, address, and the item number, and submit it to the board president or to the superintendent. You'll be called to address the board. You may speak for up to 3 minutes. Virtual speakers wishing to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items, please submit your first and last name and the agenda item you wish to speak on in the Q&A area of the webinar. Please do not submit comments or questions in the Q&A area. You'll be called to address the board. Your microphone will be unmuted and you may speak for up to 3 minutes. After you have spoken, your microphone will be muted. All right. Approval of the minutes of August 10th. It's recommended that the board approve the minutes of August 10th. Are there any questions regarding these minutes? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of August 10th, 2022, regular Board of Trustees meeting?
I'll move. Okay.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All right. Barbara, will you take the vote, please?
Sure. All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 5-0.
All right. All items, approval of the agenda and consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be approved in one motion, which is not debatable, and which requires a unanimous vote for passage. If any member of the board, the superintendent, or the public so requests, any item shall be removed from this section and placed in the regular order of business following the approval of the consent agenda. Are there any questions regarding the agenda and consent agenda? All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda?
Motion.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Barbara, will you take the vote, please?
Yes, all in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 5-0.
Communications. Speakers wishing to address the board on agenda items or non-agenda items, please submit your first and last name in the agenda item you wish to speak on in the Q&A area of the webinar. Please do not submit comments or questions in the Q&A area. You'll be called to address the board. Your microphone will be unmuted and you may speak for up to 3 minutes. After you have spoken, your microphone will be muted.
Hang on 1 second. Megan Ellsburn says sound is gone.
Sound is gone.
So let's get the PCTV unmuted.
Is the
That's good.
Sound back?
Give me a thumbs up. Or Megan says sound back. Okay. What about the picture? You still have Josie's face, or you have the picture? Picture back. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for the teamwork.
Okay. All right. First up, LSEA. Are they online?
They're online. Yep, Megan's coming up.
There we go. Hi, everybody. Okay. At the last board meeting on August 10th, I mentioned that our members were uneasy that the schools would be up and ready in time for the students. I hate to use this phrase that our LSEA and CSEA members rose to the occasion and got the schools ready, but they did, to the best of their abilities. Once again, all our members were working well above and beyond to get the physical space ready, whether it was teachers on ladders washing windows or teachers hauling items in from home to replace broken furniture from the move. And once again, too much was expected of us. And once again, we got it done. It has been a far from easy start. Even though the superintendent wrote to families that it was the smoothest opening in her time at PSD, I think you could speak to any other employee and find some fault in that statement. Was it really that smooth? I have been union president since 2015, and this was the first year my phone was and continues to be buzzing with issues from every site in PSD. Whether it's the cleanliness of rooms or site admins making misguided changes, it's been a lot. Our LSEA leadership is lined up and ready to assist with whatever our members need. It's been all hands on deck to help with all the issues. Please continue to listen to the teachers and make adjustments. We are professionals, we know what we're doing, we know what's best for the students. Ask our opinions and professional input before making decisions, purchasing products, subscribing to resources, etc. We've got valuable insight. As I said in an email to one of the board members, our teachers are tired of begging to be on your team. We are appreciative of the lunch we received today. We are thankful for the additional hours impacted teachers have been compensated. It's just unfortunate it felt like such a fight to get that. We need to be looking at how to retain all employees for the upcoming school year. Pleasant and clean work environments, clear communication, and forward thinking and decision-making help. Hopefully, emails will be exchanged and replied to and conversations had. We are very eager to discuss future plans for PSD and not just have to live in a reactionary world of fixing problems. Thank you.
Thank you. CSEA.
Hello, my name is Nicole Sayers and I'm the president of CSEA. I would like to welcome some of our newest CSEA members. Cynthia Sims, a new COVID health assistant for Ortega School. Nancy Ochoa, COVID health assistant for Valimar. Christina Kasharoff, a new paraprofessional for Ortega. Clara Bellinger, a new paraprofessional for Ortega. Jocelyn Cavillo, a new crossing guard for Sunset Ridge, and I would also like to acknowledge Jennifer Godwa, who recently transferred to a Playworks paraprofessional at Ortega. Tonight, I want to discuss Gerald Keller's situation one more time. Jerry worked for the district for 7 years, and during those 7 years, our school grounds looked 100% better than they do now. Like everyone, Gerald had a few hard months and needed to take time off. We all have hard times, and we all need to take time off occasionally. Jerry left the district abruptly because of complications with COVID and the stress from illnesses his mother was suffering from. When Jerry left, his management did not reach out to see how he was doing. They did not see if there was anything they could do to make things easier. They did not show any compassion. It is sad when someone's management does not recognize the signs of someone struggling. When management does not reach out, offer to help, or show compassion. They sat back and started to think about hiring contracted employees to replace him. Well, after a few months, things in Gerald Keller's life have been resolved, and he feels stronger. He saw that there were 2 groundskeepers positions posted, and he approached his past supervisor and was encouraged to fill out an application on EdJoin, and he did that. But the district didn't call him for an interview or even a discussion. They said he did not pass the screening process and they would not be interviewing him. They told him he could consider signing on as a substitute if he would like. CSEA finds this insulting since he was probably the most experienced candidate that we have. In fact, he was such a good candidate that the district still wanted him to be around as a substitute so they could call him regularly. CSEA feels that it is ridiculous that the district would offer someone a substitute position when they already held the job for 7 years. I think anyone in this room would find this story insulting. While Gerald worked for our district, the grounds were greener. They were mowed as best the 2 people in that department could. One principal recently said, "I have nothing but good things to say about Jerry's work ethic." They said that Jerry also found ways to remedy the situations with irrigation, grounds, trees, and grass. Jerry took pride in how the school was presented to the public. They also said that Jerry is sorely missed for his devotion to the school sites. CSEA and anyone who knows Gerald Keller knows that he did his best for our district. Gerald Keller lives in this community, his kids went to school in this community, and he knows many of us in this community. CSEA hopes that the Board of Trustees and the district look at the situation and do what they can to offer Gerald Keller a fair chance of returning to his prior position. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. People wishing to address the board.
There are 2 non-agenda items. The first is Rhonda Hamilton. So you just go to the back there, and then you have 3 minutes.
Thank you.
But we'll wait for you to get settled.
Oh, good.
Good evening. My name is Rhonda Hamilton, and I'm a retired classified employee of the Pacifica School District. I would like to address the board about a non-agenda item, the unpredictable distribution of medical reimbursement checks to retired classified employees. According to the union contract, the payment will be made quarterly in advance. The district is in repeated violation of the collective bargaining unit agreement between the district and CSEA Chapter 128. We are supposed to receive these reimbursement checks in July, October, April, and January. I retired exactly 6 years ago today and received my quarterly checks no later than mid-month until July of 2018. Since then, the checks have arrived later, sometimes delayed, until the following month, which is in violation of the contract. In 2019, the union became involved in this matter, and we received our checks in September, a whole month early. Then, the next 2 checks came within the designated months. Unfortunately, after those 3 payments, the late cycle began again. Last year, 2 of the checks were in violation. This year, 2 out of 3 checks received were in violation. We cannot rely on receiving the money earned in a timely manner. We've asked for a set date for these checks to be issued, but the district refuses under the pretense that they worry about being in violation if they were late. Their actions show that this is not a real concern for them. I know fellow retirees who have directly raised their concerns to the district on this matter, and the excuses given as to why our payments are late are always different. For example, they're on the desk of accounts payable, or the school year just started. COVID has also been cited as a reason for the delay, but this issue predates COVID by 2 years. There's always an excuse, and there's never a solution. The district is aware of this issue and have had 4 years to resolve it. It is within their power to fix this, as shown back in 2019 when the union got involved. They can pay us on time, but are actively choosing not to. Their actions show a blatant disregard for both the contract and the retirees. Retirees have raised their concerns and tried to address this. Our union tried to resolve this. We've asked for a set date for these checks to be issued, but the district refuses to work with us. We should not have had to escalate this problem to the board, and yet we are here. I am asking that you hold them accountable. There needs to be repercussions for this behavior. Otherwise, they will continue to do this. The retirees work too hard to have our concerns dismissed so easily and our payments withheld for no reason. Please help us resolve this issue once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next one is Darcy Fields.
My name is Darcy Fields, and I worked for the district for 30 years. I was involved in the union for probably 22 years as site rep, secretary, and first vice. I've been retired to be 3 years tomorrow, and it's been fantastic. However, 2 years before I retired, I became aware of the quarterly checks being late. And I worked with the superintendent, EERC meetings, I brought it up. This is ridiculous. I should not have to sit there at the end of the month, at the end of July, and wonder where this check is, and then start calling on the 3rd to find out where this check is. There have been times when I planned vacation with the idea that this check was going to be there, and it's not, and I've had to go take it out of the savings, and then while I'm on vacation, the check arrives home. Last August, They mailed it to my house on the 16th of August. A half a month late. This time, it was 8 days late. And I also want to bring up that Rhonda and I live about a mile and a half from each other. I got mine on the 8th. She gets her check on the 12th. And don't say it's the mail because Boulder Creek got it on the 12th too. So there's something going on here. My husband's a fireman. He gets his quarterly check. Well, it's not quarterly. He gets his reimbursement check monthly, and it's always there on the same day. I don't understand why this district can't do that. This is ridiculous. I've sent emails to Josie and Heather. It's been ignored. Other people have sent the emails. It's been ignored. The retirees are tired of being ignored on this issue, and we really hope you guys can help us on it. And I want to say something else, Nicole. Yeah. Shame on this district for not hiring Jerry back. But that's typical of this district. They've forced a lot of good workers out. For one reason or another, they get on somebody's bad side and they're gone. They go to other districts and work and fine. Your grounds look horrible. I've had people say that. I go up north to a school district and their grounds look a lot better than this. Kids are playing on those fields. AYS, your kids are playing on those fields. Those fields should be kept up, they should be mowed, and I don't know why you're not hiring Jerry back. I dealt with my mother. It's hard working and dealing with a sick parent, and then having health issues on top of that, and COVID on top of that. So that's all I'd like to say. Oh, and also, I hope that the account payable person is not held responsible because it goes above her. These checks are held up for a reason. My husband personally thinks it's the interest you guys make. Maybe off our checks. Maybe that's why they're going out. Go out first and Rhonda's goes out later. I don't know, but I'm beginning to wonder. And if that's the case, it's a horrible way of treating your retirees. 30 years of service. I was on time, did my job, the kids got fed. The checks need to be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all of the non-agenda items.
All right, correspondence.
I do not have any correspondence.
All right, board superintendent communication. We'll start on.
I can start. Okay. Since the last board meeting, I've had at least 4 workforce housing meetings. We're trying to move that along. It's going pretty good. Met with Heather once a week. Into the Mission Blue Butterfly movie that the Beach Coalition had here at the community center, which is available, I think, for all the students. So we need to see about getting that in the classrooms that would like to have that. It's all free out there. And then met with the music directors yesterday, and we're trying to get ready for Fog Fest. So trying to get back to some normality there and get them all in their uniforms and maybe a small band, but they'll be out there marching.
My kids are back in
town. My correspondences are, I met with Heather on the 19th to go over items that I missed in the board meeting that I wasn't able to attend. And on kind of personal correspondence, I was there at the start of school at a couple of sites and was very excited to see all the happy faces and kiddos, and my kid was so excited to start at Sunset Ridge. So,
great.
Let me start with emails. I wasn't here at the last meeting, but I've received a lot of emails from parents regarding the field conditions. And I also received emails from CSEA and LSEA about things they talked about today. I attended the IBL Back to School night, and I also attended the LSCA monthly meeting. And I wanted to thank Mr. Yu, the band teacher, for the video that he sent. It sounds like a great new program that they're going to have. And I think that's it.
All right. I attended one of the meetings with the city around workforce housing. It was a very productive meeting. I helped one day with the move-in for Cabrillo the Monday before school. So that was, I wanted to, again, thanks everyone that are all the people that were there, all the families and friends that had helped. Because I saw firsthand how hard it was and how much work was going into that. So thank you. And I was, let's see, I went to IBL Back to School Night. At IBL Back to School Night, I did also get talked to by a few people about the fields, both at IBL and over at Ortega, as well as the general grounds maintenance, and lots of concerns over that. And then I also had my monthly meeting with Dr. Olson, and those are my items this month.
I don't have much to report other than I did my bi-weekly meeting with Dr. Olson.
The only thing that I have to report that wasn't reported was today we had Big Five, our emergency protocol meeting, and there were probably 220 staff members online at both 2 and 2:30. So it was great to have a refresher on that.
All right, so we're moving into our district goals. All right, the district values the goals provided in our local control accountability plan, LCAP, and strategic plan. All of our district board agenda items are tied to these goals. One or more goals are listed in the description of each board agenda item. The details for each of those district goals can be accessed on our district website at www.pacificasd.org. All right, bond project update, Ms. Ming.
You can either present from there, Cece, or you can present whatever is easier for you. You won't be able to see the screen in that corner, so you may want to just present from where you are.
Where is the slides going to be? It's going to be over there?
It will be right across from you.
Okay, so I need to stand a little bit closer.
You need to see closer than that? Okay.
You need to see when it's closer.
Elizabeth can, so when it goes from there, you should be able to get.
Yeah, and I brought it up on here too.
Perfect.
So my name is Cece Main. I'm the bond project manager in charge of executing our master plan. So we did construction over the 8 weeks over the summer. So this is the update on what we did over the summer. So we have improvements at 6 sites this summer. We have Sunset Ridge, Ocean Shore, IBL, Valimar, Cabrillo, and Ortega. And we had a pretty ambitious scope of work. So in order to carry out all these work within the 8 weeks of time we have, so we executed them with 5 contractors. First project is the carpet replacement at Valimar, Cabrillo, Ortega, and we did that with all county flooring, and that project has been completed. And that project was a very stressful project in terms of, the materials coming from Germany, and we had order, and there's port issues, so we want to make sure the material arrived here on time. And also, before we even know the material will arrive here on time, we'll have to do a big move. So there's a high risk that we have, all the teachers spend all the effort packing things up and have things organized. If we don't have the material arrive on time, it's just going to be a big risk. So it was a big risk we take, but we're very glad, everything turned out and the floor got completed on time for students. So really thankful for the teachers who really helped and contributed to the move back and unpacking. Really appreciate making it a very successful project, and I have had feedback from teachers and parents walking into the new classroom. They absolutely love the new floor, and so I'm very happy with that. The second project is all the outdoor improvements at 4 sites. Have Ortega, IBL, Cabrillo, Sunset Ridge, and the contractor is Dryco. And the project, as I was putting together a presentation, which is about 2 weeks ago, so it wasn't fully complete, but as of now, it's completely completed, except the ramp at Cabrillo, and that original completion date is scheduled in late September, and it's going in the first week of September. And the third project is the roof replacement at 3 sites. Valimar, Ortega, and Sunset Ridge Portable, and contractors Andy's Roofing. And currently it's at 95% complete. Because over the summer, the weather has been unpredictable. So like the first few hours is sunny, and the next hour it's going to drizzly. So it's very difficult for the contractor to, get like one clear, really full day to carry out the work. That's why, now they're still finishing some work at Valimar and some work at Sunset Ridge. And I believe there's very little work left at Ortega, but they're carrying out the work mainly on weekends as well as during after hours, especially on Wednesdays when school is a short day. And fourth project is Ocean Shore new playground and miscellaneous outdoor improvement. And contract is with Andrini Brothers, and the status is fully completed before school started. And I have seen the kids really enjoying the new playground. It's a much improvement than what we had before. And the fifth project is the school facility improvements at 6 sites. 6 sites listed above, and it's with a local Pacifica-based company called Cal Pacific Construction, and currently it's at 95% complete. So we completed majority of the work that we prioritize the areas that will impact the students and teachers' occupancy. So those are fully completed. There are miscellaneous little things that to be completed, for example, like door hardware and some touch-up painting, some floor base, that, have like long time because it's got to match the exact color. And contractor right now are working during after hours and on weekends to complete the project. Next slide. So just going into some site-specific items that we have completed across these five contractors. So Sunset Ridge, we had admin improvement. We had collaborative classrooms in A and B wings, and with special ed space improvement, where we added pull-out rooms and kindergarten restrooms, and we had parking and drop-off improvement, new ADA pass of travel. We added air conditioning to the MDF room. MDF is a technology room that hosts all the technology equipment for the entire site. And last year, the entire district did a technology upgrade. So all these equipment will need to be housed in a place where the temperature air is very sensitive to the temperature. So we added air conditioning to protect our investment for our technology equipment. And electrical outlets improvement for all classrooms, because teachers, they just don't have enough outlets where they have to constantly run, extension cords that are tripping hazards. So we added electrical outlets for almost all the classrooms. Exterior electrical outlets as well. Perimeter fencing, making the school more secure with brand new gates with painted hardware. It's a push bar that emergency you can just exit without a problem. And kindergarten playground improvement, they had a market, and we improved that with synthetic turf. And they also needed extra hose space so they can water their plants. And one classroom portable roof recording, so that's the roof work. So this is the next slide. So this is just some typical picture. Now every picture of the scope of work is taken, because some will be blurry, like nobody wants to see an air conditioning unit. But this is some, majority, so the major pictures. This is the new admin, where we reconfigured the admin layout. So now the admin desks really have good view of who's coming in, and we increased the transparency from the admin area into the hallway, and made the reception desk have a really welcoming feeling to parents and students. And now the reception we added a window into the principal office, so the principal office and the admin area has a really good connection, and also because of this interior window, the admin staff can finally see outside. They have natural light coming into their office. Next slide.
Can you get rid of that little the gallery there?
Yeah.
So this picture shows the ADA improvement. So the previous had some ADA parking, but it wasn't up to current code. So that's upgraded. We also add synthetic turf, to the front of the school, creating some greenery in the front. And there's a new crosswalk added, so it's barrier-free for parents arriving on the stroller. And this is this picture on the lower left is a new ADA accessible pathway from the street leading right into the front of the school. And also because of the protruding island, the driving aisle was very bottlenecked, so we cut back, the protruding island, so they basically just opened up the bottleneck, so really streamline the traffic, so it really helped with the drop-off and pick-up time for traffic to move through. Next slide.
Here. There you go.
So this is just some picture. This is a kindergarten playground with new fencing and synthetic turf. And we also installed a new motorized vehicle gate, that's operated on a key card. So this is to basically secure the perimeter of the front of the school, because there are always, pass-by strangers wandering to the back of the campus and enter the campus from the playground. And just the difference, you really secure the perimeter of the school. Next slide. And this is a new kindergarten restaurant at the time. And when I take the picture 2 weeks ago, it wasn't completed, but currently it's fully completed with all the plumbing installed. Next slide. So this is the improvement for Ocean Shore. So what we did was we added air conditioning to the MDF room, and there's exterior lighting repair. There's one. The custodian reported that trash enclosure there was dark, so we added one outside light, a window shade replacement. And there's a hot classroom in the D wing, so we installed those metal shade. And the teacher reported it really helped with, a few couple of days, or really helped with the room temperature. And we also replaced the tall window in the NPR with really nice manual shade. It really changed the feeling of the NPR, the space. And we also removed the sandbox in the kindergarten play yard and made that in synthetic turf. And play structure replacement and new safety surfacing. So now this new safety surfacing is, before it was a 1-inch rubber surface mounted on asphalt, and it was ramped up. So it's basically an outcropping from the ground. Now we made everything completely flush with the surrounding asphalt, and now the cushion is 4.5 inch thick. It's completely safe for the kids. And side drainage, there are some flooding between A wing and library, so every time when kids coming out of the classroom building going to the library, because of the ground slopes down, they always, when it rains, they always have to walk past a puddle of water. So we fixed that drainage, so now one pass is completely dry. And also there are some hallways kind of dark, so we added interior lighting into the corridor and classrooms. Next slide. So these are just some pictures of the new playground. So for this site, because of the weather, specifically Ocean Shore is like a block, like really close to the ocean, so it has very bad corrosion, rust. So when we're selecting these materials, and we really select a top of line that's very corrosion resistant with super good warranty out of all the vendors we have selected. And at a time, remember when we were start with the project, there is a lot of push in, how soon, we can get it done. So we really worked very diligently. We ordered these material back in November, and it also had the same production and port issues. So we're very glad it arrived on time in May, and contractor, installed it on time. And so everything really worked out very smoothly. We're very thankful it really worked out.
It's a huge hit. The classes actually ask for extra time. They sign up for extra time to play on the play structure outside of recess.
Yeah, and also it's very maintenance free just because the way it's constructed. And the structure is also made in Germany. Next slide. And we have a marine grade stainless steel handrails. So before there was some tripping hazard steps leading to the playground. So we fixed that. We installed new staircases. And the previous, there's a ramp in the kindergarten play yard leading to the buildings. They were not ADA compliant because they didn't have handrails. So we added handrail to the ramp, and that's kindergarten play yard that was previously a sandbox and then became a dirt pit, and now we replaced that with synthetic turf. Next slide. So it would be Lacey School. So the summer we were the scope of work is to accomplish admin office improvement. So IBL, the setup of IBL admin is a little bit different from the rest of the school. So between the admin and the outside, there really isn't a buffer because you're walking, the staff is right there, so they're really concerned about their safety. Because all the other schools, you basically walk in the hallway and there is some buffer. So we added a foyer between the outside and leading to their admin, and also increase the visibility to the outside. And we also installed a door intercom system. What it is it's a video phone. You think about it as a video phone. So somebody at the door, they press the button, and then somebody can talk to them with a video, see who they are, and before they buzz them in. So that's the security system we implemented for this school. And there's some sitting air register because they're constantly cold. There's some HVAC problem resolved. As well as in the library, there's HVAC configuration because they're in their tech lab. They're always cold. They have no heat. So we resolved that. And there's exterior fencing and gates, around the field. At the front of the school, the fence was very low at a certain point. So now the entire fence is an 8-foot heavy-duty chain link fence. And kitchen and snack bar improvements. There's some fence installed there because the kitchen is always hot, and the school likes to leave the kitchen door open when in operation, but that created a safety concern because anybody can walk in through the back door. So we created the fence in front of the kitchen door to protect it, so it's fenced in. They can still leave their kitchen door open while their school is being secure. And lighting control panel replacement. There's some erosion and programming issues at the site we resolved. And there's some flooding at the back door and in janitor's rooms. The contractor really helped us figure out what's really causing those flooding and resolve that. And their exterior break in their repair, there's some big cracks in the front, and it's not very aesthetically pleasing for the school. So we're repairing that. And it's not completed yet because the break has, to match the existing, they have some lead time issues, but it's going to complete it, in the next 2 to 3 weeks. ADA drop-off improvements at the parking front. And we also installed 2 new drinking fountains with bottle filling stations at the multi-purpose building and gym. Next slide. So this is some of pictures, major picture of IBL. That's the new drop-off area. ADA compliant drop-off area, and that's the other is the taller fence around the field, and the lower right picture is the fence closing in the kitchen exterior door. Next slide. So this is the new front foyer. After you enter the admin wing, and basically there is a window, service window. You can talk to the receptionist before you move in further along into their space. Next slide. Valimar. The scope of work includes ABC, AD wing. It's not the D wing, it's actually the admin wing. Classroom upgrades, cabinetry, new sinks, built-in storage, and cubbies. And we also replaced all the interior floor, 20-year-old carpet. A staff restroom floor replaced. The previous staff restroom was all cracked and damaged with old vinyl, so we replaced that. And they had a kiln in the fenced shed, and we are building a new kiln addition, a real building to replace that shed. And similar to the previous school, electrical outlets improvements for ABC wings, where they have extension cords or not enough outlets, where the teacher need them to be. And we added air conditioning to the MDF room, and improved the areas where the walkway is not ADA compliant. And we also replaced all the bent sliding whiteboards in the learning wall. Is basically a tall cabinet when you enter the classroom. There's this tall big casework the teacher uses. So that's So the sum of the interior pictures, this is after. So the gray cabinets, that's the new cabinetry, and the new floor is the new rubber floor, and just some pictures of the new cabinetry and the new floor. Next slide. And this is the kiln addition. is under construction right now. It's anticipated to be completed before the end of September. And the ADA compliant walkway and the staff restroom, they have a new porcelain tile floor. Next slide. Valimar also had a roof replacement for the ABC D wing, and this is the library, art room, band room complex. So they all received a new roof, a 40-year warranty roof. Next slide. Cabrillo, air conditioning to the MDF room. We have a band room emergency certification. What it is it's a message display because it's reported that if they're playing music, if there is an emergency, they cannot hear the emergency announcement. So we made a visual display so that you can type a message, they will be able to see it. And interior finishes, all the 20-year-old carpet for all the classrooms are replaced with rubber floor. Concrete paving repair in front of school, front of school, the walkway. During drop-off hours, I remember the parents walk there all the time, kids walk there all the time. It's full of crack and tripping hazard. So the entire lens is replaced with new concrete. And similar, we secure the kitchen exterior door with a fence. And there are, in the classroom, there's many broken or loose electrical outlets. We fixed those. And the kiln never had a real exhaust hood, so we added a kiln exhaust hood. And there are some improvements in the library where the old computer lab is, so we improved that area to make it more, multi-use friendly, and also a more library, serve the library purpose better. And we also upgraded the restroom because two of the boys' restroom, they don't have enough toilets. They have just urinals, but there's only one ADA toilet in there. So during the break time, the kids just don't have enough toilets to use. So we added one toilet to each of the two boys' restrooms. Next slide. So this is some pictures. That's the brand new ADA compliant, also brand new concrete walkway in front of school. And that's the fence around the kitchen exterior door. Those two pictures. And the next slide. And the other work we have is we completely improved the heavily wooded area behind the daycare portable. So if you remember the area, it was just a mess. There's weeds and toads. It doesn't feel safe. Now we just cleared that up and made that a usable space. So now the daycare drop-off and pick-up will be separated from the school ground. They have their own entrances and exit. And there's ADA improvements to the daycare parking, as well as a path of travel, ADA compliant, leading from the school to the daycare. Next slide. And this is a picture of the new rubber floor installed at Brillo School. And another picture is a new extra toilet stall installed at the school. Next slide. Ortega. We added air conditioning to the MDF room. There are restaurant upgrades, so similar to Cabrillo. They also have the same boys' restroom, not having enough students' toilet. So we added one stall each to two boys' restrooms. And we also improved the special ed. We added all their special ed, they don't have students' restrooms. So we added students' restrooms. And there is a plan that, we want to move the preschool in the LMEC so they are with other kids. So we also improved, there's one extra room that's not occupied or Ortega, so we made that classroom into a preschool classroom by adding a restroom to the space, to their existing maker space. They're not really occupying. And there's also window shade replacement. It's a nice metal shade. It's 3% open. You can see a little bit outside, but not quite. And it really helped with the heat problem they're experiencing in that B and C wing south-facing windows. And in their D wing, they have these high windows, so when teachers are teaching in the afternoon, they're constantly having glare on their face. And after the window film install was started, I went in and talked to the teachers, I want to make sure, did it really work? And they loved it. They no longer have the glare problem when they're in the class. And ADA, parking and pass of travel upgrade, that's a big ticket item for the school. You know, the school has been asking here for a while. We finally got that done. And, you know, it was a challenging project because we're on a hill, so the design team really worked really hard and figured out the solution. So now we have ADA accessible parking in the lower parking lot. And replace classroom carpet similar with, you know, with the other schools with rubber floor, and additional electrical outlets for all the classrooms, kiln upgrade by adding exhaust hood. There are additional whiteboard in the hallway, so the hallway can be used, you know, as collaborative space for the pull-out space. And also we replace the roof over the main hallway. So this is the work that we have to squeeze in within the 8 weeks of time this summer. So I understand it has been stressful for the teachers, you know, to move back. And I know previously someone mentioned, you know, there might be some cleaning issues, but I really appreciate everybody jumping and trying to help. But I know it's, you know, some of area, it might not be perfect given the time we had, but we really tried. So I hope everyone loved it. And, you know, putting a smile on the teachers and parents and their faces is what we're striving for. Next slides. So this is just some pictures of the ADA upgrades at Ortega. So you can see the new ADA parking in the lower lot and, you know, pass of travel completely barrier-free, leading from the street, from the parking lot to the front of school. Next slide. So this shows the new rubber floor at Ortega, and that's the new window shades, you know, throughout the other sites as well, but that's what they look like, the new window shade. Next slide. The new marker board in the hallway and additional restrooms. Next, restroom stalls, next slide. And these are the kindergarten restrooms we added. That's what the inside looks like, you know, with porcelain tiles. Next slide. And so we also reconfigured one of the restrooms in order to add one more toilet stall for the boys' restroom. Next slide. These are some of the pictures of the window films, you know, also what it looks like outside, inside. Next slide. And the roof work in the big hallway. Next slide. Yes, this wraps up the summer construction updates. Any questions?
I want to say thank you so much. Any questions?
I first of all, being able to manage this many contractors and get them done anywhere close to the timeline is amazing. So thank you so much for all the work you did, because I know it's a lot of work to get that many people on time. I did sort of out of a random question, just because it looks so good. Do you know what the price was of the little patches of artificial turf that we put at the various spots, or what the price per square foot is on that?
Yeah, so it ranges. So at daytime, you know, at daytime, the price. So I would say it's about $35 to $40 square foot, including the drainage, all the substrate, and finish.
Okay.
About $40 square foot.
Okay, great, because that's
installed.
It looks great. All right,
there are perhaps other spots.
Yeah, there's lots of other places that might also recommend other places. But yeah, great. That was it for me. Honest. Thanks.
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate, so I've been involved in some other construction projects this summer, and the supply chain challenges were not a joke, and it's very impressive that you got to 95% or more completion across the board, so kudos for that. One question that I have is are all the classrooms ready to go? Because I know there was construction around some of the classrooms. Are the classrooms themselves ready to go in terms of the remaining work that might be left?
All the classrooms are ready to go, except there's one classroom which is at Sunset Ridge. There's one sink cabinet we're still waiting to be installed, but that's the only item that impacting the classroom. But everything else, all the plumbing is completed, all the classrooms they're done.
That's C3 that we're waiting for that cabinet?
Yeah, it's C3. The restroom in the C3 is done. They were done just this week during after hours. It's only the cabinet, but I'm already coordinating with the contractor to pin down a date. So they were thinking to do it before school starts. So coordinating on the installation date right now.
And that's the one that was in early September that you think that would get?
No, that will be done, yeah, in early September.
Oh.
Yeah, it's almost September, today's the last day of August.
That's yeah, really.
I just have a comment about Ortega. My daughter works at TTT, so she was giving me all the updates of what was going on with we can't go to work and, you know, everything that was happening. But my main concern is the ADA top path, and because it's not that noticeable. And so, you know, the people who are there now know where it is. But is there a way to make it stand out more? And then also, it's along the fence, and I'm afraid that, you know, we might let some weeds get too overgrown, so I just want to make sure that it's all clear and that somebody is on top of that all the time, because the wheelchairs that are going through there are heavy duty. They're not, you know, like the lighter type of wheelchair you might see at Kaiser, but an motorized one. So I just wanted to make sure, and I haven't had time to go tour all the schools, so I'll put that I'll probably be emailing all the principals and wanting to take a tour to see all of the progress that we've made over the summer.
Yeah, so you're talking about that path of travel from the intersection, right?
The one from Larita?
Yeah, from the intersection right by the fence and leading to the front of the school.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically the ADA accessible from the neighborhood leading to the school. And we had, because of the existing slope, we just couldn't achieve the ADA pass, you know, which is maximum at 5%, from, you know, right down, you know, where the parking lot entrance is. It's just not achievable. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why we're relying on that to access the.
So has that been repaved, or is it still?
No, that's a concrete walkway. If we're talking about the same path, right? It's
the one that's along the fence.
Yeah, it's paved. It's fully paved and it's clear. There's no weeds or anything.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a concrete walkway.
Yes, and I just wanted to make sure that it's clear all the time for
it is clear all the time
for the students that use it.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan.
I appreciate it.
There were a couple things that we missed. Is Rachel Merlot wanted to do comments on open comments, and I didn't see that. It was at 7:19, so if we can call Rachel up. And then there's a person by the name of Josh who keeps putting questions questions in the question and answer. If Josh would like to make public comment on the field, he can put his first and last name in there, and we'll call on him to do that. But we don't take questions in the question and answer. We did do a little chit chat about the technical difficulties earlier. But so Josh, if you'd like to speak, please put your name in the question and answer. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, sorry about that. It's okay, no problem. I just wanted to comment an open comment just in regard to our facilities. I've been in the district for 14 years.
Rachel?
Oh, yes.
We're going to talk about facilities. This is an actual facilities item.
Oh gosh, okay, I'll just wait. That's fine.
Okay, very good. So it's an
all right.
item, and I do have just a couple other people, so we'll keep you in the queue for that one.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you.
No problem. So in terms of order of, we have 3 speakers here, and we have Rachel and then possibly Josh online. Before we get started on fields, have we moved to the fields item yet?
Well, are we ready to move to fields?
We are.
Okay, so Mr. Mikado?
Oh, before we present, I just want to, I'd like to reframe this as there's a lot of interest in our fields, and let's just stipulate that our fields are not the way that we want them. They look horrible. It's not, so I wouldn't spend much time doing any public comment about that. We're not pleased with the way that our fields look. There has to be some improvement. And the other part that I think we're going to be in agreement in is our kids deserve better than this. So we are very open to hearing ideas that you may have or ways that we can improve, but let's just stipulate that this is, we don't need to argue whether this is good enough. It's not. So I think, Josie, were you going to do the presentation?
Jordan wants to do the presentation.
Okay, perfect. So what I thought we would do is do the presentation, and then we would do public comment, and then we can do board discussion.
Thank you for having me. My name is Jordan Machado. I'm the Director of Facilities Maintenance and Operations here for the Pacifica School District. I'm presenting on the condition of our fields at Pacifica School District, and I agree with Ms. Olson that I'm not happy with the condition of the fields myself. We are working to get things up and running in a better condition for our students. Next slide, please. So unfortunately, we did lose both of our groundskeepers back in April, and they resigned. The job postings have been posted. It's been difficult to get people to come in and apply for the positions. As you can see, the cost for 2 employees and the benefits is right around $200,000 a year. Next slide, please. So the field grounds, we had contracted with Tourist Landscaping to come in 21-22 to come in and do tick abatement and keeping the grounds around the school maintained while our groundskeepers were maintaining the inner part of it. And then you can see the numbers there for that type of work, and that was mowing the fields and a 5-foot swath around the perimeter to keep tick abatement down. Ticks don't like real short brush. They like to hang out in the grass, and that we know through vectors that they say keep at least a 2-foot. We went as far as a 5-foot swath around our perimeters. We contracted with Redwood Maintenance to help us with landscaping since we lost our groundskeepers, and that's basically mowing and the fields on a regular basis for 4 months. And yeah, for the fields grass cutting 4 times a month. IBL, LAC, Linmar Education Center, Odstad, Ocean Shore, Ortega, and Sunset Ridge, Valamar. Unfortunately, the vendor was having issues getting all of his paperwork together and actually got it done August 19th, and he should start tomorrow or Monday with the contract that the board has approved.
He's starting on Labor Day?
I believe
Monday is Labor Day.
I believe he may start on Monday.
Okay.
Next slide, please. So in the meantime, since we don't have any support in the district, I've reached out to a number of contractors asking for quotes. I've done a number of walks, as you can see there, done 3 walks with big contractors. Some contractors were unable to support us because they didn't have the resources to help us out. We're waiting on those numbers to come back. And when we do get those numbers, of course, we'll bring them to the board and management, upper management to take a look at it. Escapes Landscaping was unable to help us. Common Grounds Landscaping and Cogman and Dorwin, unfortunately. And I'm still waiting to see if any of the others that don't have dates next to them will reach out to us. Next slide, please. So the service of contracts as needed, tree removal. We have a local contractor, tree service here in Pacifica that's been doing work with the district for many years. They work really well with us. They come in when the kids aren't around. They'll come in on weekends to address. They have an arborist that works for them. They can come in and tell us about how the condition of our trees are, whether they need to be removed. We strategically remove trees so we don't risk the other living trees around them. Thinning trees out is a very pretty much a scientific method to make sure that the other trees around them don't fall in a windstorm. As you can see, in 2021, we spent $12,300 on tree services, and in 21-22, we had to thin out more in a number of school sites. As we move forward, as we take trees out, we will replace those trees with other trees that the district approves. Gophers, I keep hearing about gophers. We had a small, in 2021, a small company that was coming in and trapping, and they also didn't have the resources to address our needs. We now have a company called Advanced IBM in 22-23, and they have been out every single week since they've started, and I've got reports from them that I can share with the board at any time. I don't have them with me here. Didn't think it was appropriate at this time, but if you need those reports, and they constantly keep coming in, I have a folder of all that. Next slide, please. So Cabrillo Field is actually being taken care of by one of the groups in Pacifica, Pacifica Girls Softball League. They've upgraded the irrigation. They have spent a total of $10,000 this year. The goal is to upgrade another $31,000 in batting cages, and they still need to go through the actual irrigation heads to make sure that those are functioning properly. Next slide, please. Ocean Shore. Unfortunately, Ocean Shore irrigation, we've lost communication since June of 2022 from both of our irrigation controllers, and we've been diligent in trying to get the communications back up and running with that. We have water on the field. The valves come up, when we turn them on manually, we just don't have the information from the controller going out to the actual valves. So that's taking some time because trying to trace the signal wires underground when you don't know exactly where they're at and where there might be a possible break. It's very difficult. Scapes Landscaping has been out working on that to try reestablishing the communication with the controllers. They were out last week, and they should be back in, I believe, they might be back in on Monday or Tuesday to continue the work in finding the problem. Next slide, please. IDL, track, refurbish. This past year, cost of $24,950 through COVID funding. We are working with a partnership with IBL, PTO, and AOSO, and a couple of other groups that have graciously donated some funding to get the irrigation going up at IBL. We installed a brand new enclosure as the irrigation box was actually out in the weather. It's 300 series stainless steel. We've purchased a brand new controller to replace the old existing one. We had some, again, also had some communication wires that were unfortunately damaged, and those have since been fixed. We are now, as of today, testing the irrigation system, making sure that the controller is controlling the correct heads and valves in the areas. There's still some more work that needs to be done. Some of the boxes are buried and we need to relocate those. Unfortunately, they're all plastic, so it's kind of, we have the drawings, we have an idea where they are on the drawings. It's just actually finding the boxes because they could be within a 10-foot radius, and Kagwin Golan is doing that work as of now. Next slide, please. So, Ortega 1 and 2 used year-long for sports leagues, baseball, soccer, little league, maintains the backstop dugouts on the backfield. Ortega Field 1, we are going to use a new synthetic field at Ortega. There are some issues with drainage on that field because we have some natural springs up there, but that's all going to be addressed. There will be perimeter fencing, 8-foot fencing around that field to keep folks coming in and using it without permission from the district, and we want to keep that field as nice as possible when it comes in. And so we've always had an issue at Pacifica with people bringing their pets onto the property, and it's unhealthy for our students when the animals do their business. They pick up, but they don't always pick up everything. Children don't always remember to wash their hands, and it's certainly a health issue that we don't, I don't have any direct information that says I can say that somebody got sick, but there's always that possibility. And that project will start this summer in 23.
And somebody, one of you asked me this summer, and I said, oh yeah, it's starting in 2 years, summer of 2023, and you had to point out to me that next summer is summer of 2023.
Next slide, please. The Balmoral Field, currently the track has been done by the PTO. It is also looking to be upgraded to a better field, new grass. We're working with the groups that are working with helping out with those fields. We are having a project coming up to remodel D-Wing this next summer, but we have to put in a temporary campus, and we're going to have to drive big trucks, in the neighborhood of 80,000 pounds onto that field to put that campus in place. And so if we were to do that project at the time that they wanted it, it would just be destroyed by vehicles transporting over the top of that, and we have to redo the field again. There are measures that we can do to help keep the field maintained, and if we can get some groundskeepers in to help us out, or even a service company that can come in and address a lot of the holes in the field, that maybe as a one-time to get us caught up where we need to be by keeping the vegetation down, then the new groundskeepers that come in could possibly keep it up like we had in the past. Next slide, please. Linamar. Linamar hasn't been used in many years. There's no irrigation at Linamar. I've been told no controller. Pacifica School District has one wing over there that it uses it for the district. The other wings are rented out to, one is the Spectrum, which used to be up at Podstad. It's a special needs school. And the other is a preschool, and that's We Play, We Learn. And they've got a couple of rooms on the other side. The mowing of the fields on the front, when they were done, they were all hand watered by our groundskeepers with rainbirds that are set in a bucket and then plugged into the existing water lines there. But the fields aren't watered, and Spectrum actually uses the field for exercise, allowing the students to walk around the field and enjoy the outdoors. Next slide, please. Odstad. Odstad, as we know, is going to be upgraded to workforce housing, but the fields aren't going away. We were concentrating on trying to get our fields at the school sites up and going. Odstad is not forgotten, but it's not a priority. Our kids are using it on a regular basis every day. The irrigation there needs a little help. We know we have a few natural springs there that come up every year. There's two that are alive now, and the large one that we had in the past has stopped for the time being, but it will come back like it has every year. And the irrigation, so that I do want to say that the irrigation was turned off in last winter and has been off since March, since we've lost our groundskeepers. And getting it back up to running, we don't know how much damage is done by broken heads or any other items, so turning it on might create more damage and even possible flooding in the middle of the night, because our irrigation runs at night, off hours, which saves the district money. Next slide, please. Sunset Ridge has no current use from the community and not currently used by sports leagues, but it's still not in the condition we'd like it to be. And we are definitely going to look at all the school sites in the very near future as soon as we get some numbers in, and we can start discussing those projects or possible projects if that's going to occur. Next slide, please. So if we were to get our fields up where they're looking really nice, if we could, these are examples of what is charged around our community, our neighboring schools. And as you can see, our district charges $50 per day, where other districts are charging by the hour. I want to put this up there just to show, so the monies that we're getting doesn't really help as much as we need to have really nice fields. Next slide, please. So we're going to continue recruitment efforts for the grounds. If the board chooses so, we'll consider allocating funds to make our fields better. Then maybe in the future we could look at, maybe in 2023, at going to an hourly rate as opposed to a daily rate to help offset the cost of maintaining those fields. And in 2024, coming up to alignment with the average of the rest of the districts in our area. Next slide, please. That's what I have now for our fields. Are there any questions?
I think before we take questions, what I might suggest is that we do a public comment.
Yeah, that's okay.
Michelle Gray, would you like to go first?
Sure.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. Thanks, George, for the information. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. It's nice to be here in person for once. I usually call in from home, so this is the face that goes with that voice. My name is Michelle Gray, and I'm an IBL and Valleymar parent, and I'm lucky enough to actually be president of the IBL PTO this year. Go Bulldogs. For the past 9 or 10 months, I've really spent a lot of time trying to figure out what can we do to get these fields and grounds in better shape. I developed a nice collaboration with Josie and George, and I really appreciate their time. They're the responsible people for this. And they talk to me, they answer my texts, we meet. I talked to George actually Monday at the IBL field when Kegwin was there doing the stuff, so I always appreciate those conversations. It's good to have that dialogue, that back and forth. So my concern is that despite my efforts, not that I can do everything in the world or everything I want to, but over this time, the fields really and the grounds have continued to degrade, and this is not a new issue. This didn't just happen this year, right? We have been kind of on this curve for a really long time, and we can't seem to pivot off, and I don't quite understand how we can't do that. It's sort of the same variables in, same approaches, you're gonna get the same outcome, and so we really need fresh ideas, new ideas. So one thing that I've tried to do in working with Josie and George and working with the community is, we know there's not tons of funding. We also know we have a great community out here that wants to help and support their schools and can step up. And so I was able to establish some collaborations and partnerships for some of the fields and tracks. The Valleymar PTO was wonderful, $22,000 that they put towards that track. Pacifica Girls Softball has stepped in on a couple times, and AYSO. So AYSO is one, you know, we can say maybe there was a little bit of a rocky relationship there. I think it takes two sides to have a strong partnership and collaboration, and I always feel like it's worth trying anew. And so I've been working a lot with Jim Allen on the AYSO board, wonderful guy. And he was able to secure some funding for the IBL field, which is great. This was back in April. They haven't been able to spend a dime because of one thing or another. And unfortunately, this is a very common problem that I see, right? There's always a problem, there's always a reason. These are complex issues, right? These are not easily summarized in slides, but you have to get down into the details to really understand and see if there's any patterns there so that we can, again, pivot and move things in a better situation. August 12th was the 6th grade new student orientation at IBL, and I was heartbroken, actually, to welcome these families and these kids to a new school, right? 6th graders, everyone's new at IBL. And it was heartbreaking to see that. So I'd love to be part of the solutions here, but we really need to look at the approach because it's not working. And I appreciate the acknowledgement that no one's happy about it, but I actually see no concrete plans, no timelines, and no direct updates and accountability for delivery on those plans. So it's a wish list, but we actually have to make that into a concrete, actionable plan that's monitored and supported both from school district, but also from the partnerships we're able to establish. So I'd love to be part of it. I also want to thank trustees Burkini and Villalobos for acknowledging the email that I developed in the response to the presentation. Again, getting to the weeds, I sent it to everyone, so I hope the rest of you have an opportunity to look at it. I am available for questions. I'd love to help figure out how to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll continue with the people that are in person, and then we'll take the people that are online. Mr. Kell.
All right, I'm Joe Kell, president of Pacifica Girls Softball League. I'm excited to give you my perspective on the district field-related activities and the approach that our league is taking. But first, a few quick words about the league. We're a nonprofit 501c3 focused on girls softball ages 4 to 14. In 2021, we brought on almost an entirely new board, and our goals are as follows: grow the awareness of softball, build a PJSL community with common goals and dedication, become the school district's trusted manager of the Cabrillo fields, and raise money and work hard to increase the level of play, field conditions, and overall softball experience so that it's on par with the Peninsula League teams. After consistently flat enrollment from 2018 to 2020, 7 teams, 100 players, we grew to 15 teams and 224 players in 2021, and 29 teams and 369 players in 2022. We accomplished the growth through a couple additional seasons throughout the year, and also establishment of T-ball for the 4 to 6 year olds, which is pretty great. Now the fields. We understand that the district's financial constraints and the specific ways that things get done in the public domain are difficult. So upon becoming president in July of 2021, I reached out to Josie Peterson and George Machado about various field-related initiatives that PGSL wanted to undertake. Through them, I also met Jerry Keller, who seemed to know everything PSD related and was amazing / resource for the district. Communications were well received by the district, so thank you, and promptly pushed forward for the following projects. So at Cabrillo, we spent about $20,000, 600 hours of work, installing 4 48-foot benches for social distancing during the COVID times. We dug up and repaired 8 sprinkler valves, valve boxes, installation of shutoff valves, etc. from easy maintenance, and we redid both infields. Maintenance, we spent about $5,000, 900 hours. We're do-it-yourself gopher trappers. I'm the head gopher killer.
Okay. Don't tell us that. They tell me they put them in the hills.
Oh, yeah. Mowing, weed whacking, infield maintenance, and watering. So we are out there watering the field with a fire hose at times. At Valimar, we spent about $1,000 and 100 hours turning what was grass to, its former glory of an infield. I honestly don't think that much of this would have happened without PGSL directly managing it. But it's an obligation that PGSL has signed up for, and we're grateful that the district trusted us to do this. Well, we still have a ways to go. I assure you that we have a solid plan in place. $50,000 of PGSL-sponsored projects have been proposed to the district, and we're awaiting engagement from PSD to move forward. We want to reconfigure our containers at Cabrillo, add 4, and then add a practice warm-up area in the middle that's 60 feet by 30 that would be flat infield material. Could be used for school, could be used for softball, anything. And then we want to turn IBL into a showcase field for girls softball. So we have support from PTO president and the principal there. And I got quotes for both of these projects from Dryco, about $25,000 a piece. And the IBL project would be, he thinks that structurally the thing is stable, but it would be backstop repair, placing the wood, everything would be black colored to the existing stuff, dugout relocation, and dragging the infield and getting it good. And we could own that field and really turn it into something nice for the district. Let's see, overall, while I love to pay rent and have perfect fields and show up and not dedicate 30 hours a week to these fields, it doesn't seem to be in the cards for our league and the district right now. Maybe in the future. I strongly believe the field should be a very high priority for the district, as what we're doing is not scalable for other organizations and honestly not really for us, but we really have a dedicated bunch. But at this time, all I can think of is the PGSL approach that we do. All we can do is do our best and try to get these fields in as good shape as possible. So that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm slacking here. Serena Gomez.
Hi, I'm Serena Gomez. Thank you and good evening. My daughter just started at IBL. She came from Sunset Ridge. And a little bit about myself. I worked for 6 years for the Department of Consumer Affairs in their investigations unit as an undercover operator. And I also worked for a private investigator doing investigations for all kinds of things. And I was very excited for my daughter to start at IBL. I was part of the families that were really fighting for the Boys and Girls Club to stay open. And then as soon as we get to IBL, I see this big cell tower that's there. Now, there's obviously controversial issues and opinions about cell phone towers, but why this is really a huge concern is because I've been doing and taking readings off of that cell tower, and it is emitting 5 times the recommended amounts and limits for children to be under, and this is less than 300 feet away from where kids work out every single day. They have an amazing PE program at IBL, but there are proven statistics on cancer rates in children that are extremely high. If you look at a case in Ripon, California, which is right outside of Sacramento, there were 8 children who ended up getting cancer. They were all between the ages of 8 and 11 because of a Sprint tower that was on the school grounds. Now, Terra Nova and IBL both have towers like this, and why this is a really big concern is when this tower was installed, we didn't have it wasn't 5th generation yet, 5G. We're at 5G levels now, which is far greater than anything we've ever experienced. And these children are developing, their brain cells, their entire physiological development is happening right now. And we want to see improvements in the grounds, of course. I mean, I have pictures right here that if you could see, I've been taking photos in addition to my readings. This says there's limits. I mean, this is beyond the FCC limits of exposure. This is not even a tower that's for use for the school. So the tower is not even being used for school purposes. This is some other kind of issue. Even from street level, the volts per meter levels are 5 volts higher than any child or any person should be around. That's just from the electrical wires. So one tower is down, but the other tower is full-blown, I believe that it could be having potential effects biologically around even if we get, even when we get the fields going, we're going to see some areas around that tower that's not going to be that great looking. I mean, I'm finding dead animals over there and picking up skeletons. There's over here, talks about just these pictures alone, all about cancer, that nobody should be around there, that if you're even near the tower, you should be wearing a shield. So these are extremely concerning, and I'm very happy to pass them around. I also have video, and I would like to just propose an initiative to consider removal or relocation of these towers, because I also looked at DSA records for the Department of State Architect, and it looked like some of these security and safety checks have been waived. So I don't know who's monitoring the safety systems and on these towers, and it's highly likely from the readings that I got that it is absolutely in a very, just should not be around children at all. So if we can move it to a place even, it would be a lot better for everyone and for our environment. And I would like to send an email to all of you just so that you can see everything that I've documented, all my field research, all the data that I've collected. And I've talked to other parents and other people on campus who work in administration who have said that there's been many complaints, but nobody's done anything about it. And so I think it's worth taking a closer look at. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 2 people online. One is Rachel Merlot. Thank you for waiting, Rachel.
Hi, no problem. I just wanted to comment about our school facilities. I've been at IBL for 14 years, and in the last, I would say even prior to COVID, it's just been a steady decline of how our school looks. Most recently, just thinking about the 6th grade new student orientation, the trees are not trimmed. You know, we're walking through dirt on the sidewalks, all of these things. It wasn't a surprise that we were having the new student orientation. And as I tell my students, you know, it's important about how we have first impressions and what our campus looks like and having tools for success. As we all know, the Williams Act requires that public schools have textbooks, instructional materials, and that their schools are clean, safe, and functional. I'm concerned about the clean and safety and functionality of the grounds and the fact that PE, for example, is a required minutes course that students are required to take. And the outside area is actually our PE teachers' classrooms. The students should have full access to be able to utilize that. I'm concerned about the fact that there's going to be so much extra pressure on our nonprofit organizations in our community who already do so much for our youth, and it is the responsibility of our school and the school district to provide what is considered to be a safe and an environment for learning. So while I appreciate that there are a lot of organizations that are coming to willing to help, I am concerned about the future of whether or not that's going to be maintained and where the onus really will lie. So as a parent also, can somebody please cut the weeds in front of Ortega? Please, please cut the weeds. We can't even see the school. So please, we all are doing extra. First impressions are important. If we want our students to come and be proud of where they're attending, it's helpful when it also looks nice. And some of it has been this way for years now. We all know when the first day of school starts. We're all doing extra. In my own classroom, it sounds like summer school taught with a tarp up in my room all year for something that I put a work order in before spring break of last year. We know that everybody is overworked, understaffed, but we need to be having more accountability and a better solution to getting the schools in a position and in a way that feels comfortable and safe for us all to be teaching and learning. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Josh. You guys see Josh on your list that you can pull him up? Josh Shaw. Any luck?
Hello, can you hear me? Yes, we can. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say thank you for taking my call and hearing my voice. I've coached 2 seasons of baseball, and now 2 seasons I'm in the middle of soccer. I'm just a dad in the community. I'm a former Valley Marsh Stallion and Terranova Tiger. I played youth sports, and I saw how big of an impact it had on several people I grew up with and their futures. First time people that went to college and people that just it was a good outlet for responsible adults that were heavily impacting my friends' lives. I grew up here, worked down in Silicon Valley, moved down to Mountain View, lived in Sunnyvale. And I know most of the peninsula because I kind of worked down there. But I moved back here because I want to raise my kids in Pacifica because I believe and love this community. And I love the people that are here. We're just the salt of the earth. And there's a lot of good people that donate their time. I mean, hearing people talk already, their voices are probably louder than mine. Just the 3 people that spoke earlier about the efforts that people are giving on top of working to survive in the Bay Area. They're doing stuff for the kids. I mean, this community is pretty awesome. But if you go and you look at the other communities that I've seen and I've lived in, the fields, the schools, everything is manicured beautiful. Our natural resources that we have here, the city is stunning, but we just have to do a better job at, and I know that there's probably, I don't know how it has to do with, kids enrollment or whatever, but we have to fight for the resources to get them deployed in our city because the kids deserve it. Our kids deserve, people in the past couple of years have talked about mental health and childhood obesity and all new issues that are coming related to people being online more. We have to keep the environment where people are getting out and doing physical activity and able to de-stress or have fun or, a balanced lifestyle. And I just would love to request if there would be a possibility to, keep the what we have going because it's, there, I see a lot of parents, like last year I was coaching at Odstad and we were using the field and, the organization pays to rent the field and we played on dirt with weeds and my 5-year-old kids were falling their first introduce, falling on the ground and cutting their shins and knees and scrapes and they're getting cut up on dirt, no grass. So I know that this is going to be like kind of a dead horse beating situation, but I'd love to be a part of the solution just to if we need fundraising efforts or if you guys can try to write into the code where we can maybe up the salary for whatever groundkeeper you need, or if you can outsource or whatever. But we really do need this. I've been here. I'm late 30s, so I grew up here. I bought a house back here. I moved back here. I'm committed to Pacifica. I love Pacifica, but we have to do a better job for the schools. So thank you for everything that you do. I'm sure you all are working with less resources than Palo Alto, Mountain View, Belmont, whatever, but we're important too. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. We have questions from the board.
I don't really have questions. I just want to thank all the organizations for all the work into it. And I think, not having groundskeepers, and even if we hired groundskeepers tomorrow, I think it's to the point now where we need to have a company come in and bring it up to a certain level, and then the people we hire would maintain from then on, because even if we hire 2 or 4 groundskeepers, I don't think that's enough at this point. But, my personal opinion, I think we need to have a company come in, bring it up to a maintenance level, and then hire the people to maintain it.
It's our intention.
And, with the drought and all that, and everyone knows all the factors involved, but
it's our intention to do both concurrently. I mean, we'll hire the first opportunity that we have. We will hire, but again, they can't start from scratch. A company has to be brought in to bring it up to that level. Yep. And just looking around town, I noticed the other day that I don't know if they use their own parents or a company or something. Might be worth asking who they use, but Alma Heights, Pac Sky, they're at least driving by, their field looks really good. Looks like it's the best one in town. I'd be curious who they use. So I don't know. Like I said, it could be their own parents, but if they're using a company, you might want to check and see who it is.
I guess I kind of feel like Elizabeth right now, because I think that we need money. I mean, it's, we can hire these people, right? But they're just going to be probably putting out fires wherever they are, as far as keeping up with all the work that needs to be done. And so I heard numbers out there like 25,000, and I think at this point we just kind of need to think outside the box. And I think we have, fields that aren't being used, and maybe even considering, I know this is our real estate, but selling the parts that aren't being used, possibly like Ocean Shore, the field that's way over by the car wash, and focusing on 1 or 2 fields throughout the city where we can have, sponsors like AYSO, PGSL, who will overlook them, because PAL has done a wonderful job doing just that. I don't know how much it cost for them to bring it up to that level. I'm also wondering if we have any extra money in our building fund, Josie. I know that that's money that we can only use for improvements. And so I'm wondering what the total is in that funding, since it can't be used for anything else except for improvements on the schools. It's also a shame that I know the pandemic changed a lot of our thinking about being outside, and we had this bond, and there's only 1 or 2 schools that are using it for their fields. But even beyond that, I think we just have to think outside the box and see if there's extra money in the building and maintenance fund. What is that fund called?
So just to clarify, the building fund is where the bond funds are deposited, and that money is planned for the facilities master planning. Those are all the projects that Cece is overseeing and that she just explained.
But isn't there another one?
Routine maintenance fund.
The routine maintenance fund is in the general fund, and the board is required to put 3% of the general fund budget into routine maintenance. We were overspent this year in that account. We also were overspent in the general fund to the tune of $200,000. Some of those things we discussed with you was the plumbing project at Cabrillo was $90,000. There was just multiple things that occurred where we just don't have sufficient funding for deferred maintenance, and those are deferred maintenance type things. So those accounts that you're talking about were actually overspent. So I hope that answers your question.
So there is no money in those accounts?
Not
right now.
Are you referring to the funds for the sale of Fairmont that we have earmarked for workforce housing?
No, but that's where I kind of, was thinking along the lines of, if we had to sell something so we could bring, 1 or 2 fields up to where it needs to be and then maintain it from that point on with some of our partners.
I know that there's been lots of talk about money and not having enough money and having partners, and we, I think we will be able to figure it out. What we don't currently have is people to fix our fields, right? Like we don't have a contractor and we don't have employees. Right now, Carla has contacted probably 2 or 3 employees that we've moved through that process. Every time that people apply, we continue to move through the process. We're hopeful that with unemployment being at its all-time low, that we will find people that would be good matches for that, as well as having one of the contracting companies get started. Yes, we don't have a lot of money. Yes, we rely on our partners, but I do think that we would be able to work together to make the fields better. We're just at this place where no one has been available to work on the fields except for our partners who have been doing it on a volunteer basis. Every once in a while we can take a maintenance and operations person off. I think, right before graduation we tried to weed whack and things so that the schools looked nice enough, but it wasn't, that doesn't help the fields. It's really just the lack of people to do the work is where we're struggling. I mean, you're not wrong that we try to do things on the very lowest margin, but I don't feel like it's money that's keeping us from having decent fields at this point.
I think it is money. I think it's always the bottom line.
Right.
So I have a couple of questions. Okay. I guess the thing is, we back in March and April and May the board actually approved gardener, gopher, and landscapers, and then a month before that we had approved another landscaper. And as far as I can tell, maybe we saw a landscaper once since March. So when we have contracted with something, obviously the board is interested in getting someone here. How long do we let them be a no-show before they show up? And then what's the policy, like how do we get to the next step to hire another person?
So do you want to take that question?
Yeah, so we realized that Redwood Maintenance was a no-show. The paperwork is not completed. We have to go through the screening processes, and that was not completed in a timely manner. They disappeared for a couple months, no answers to the phone calls or emails. So that's when he started sending out additional RFPs, and he listed the companies that he's requested proposals from. He's getting few responses and doing few walkthroughs, and so we need to move on. But in the meantime, Redwood came back and did complete the paper screening and the contract paperwork, and they were actually supposed to start on Monday. Then they pushed it off to September 1st, which is tomorrow. So we're hopeful that they show up, but at what point do we cancel them? We didn't cancel them because we didn't have anybody else. Otherwise we would have moved on to somebody else.
Okay. Yeah, because the perception is we've put out money, and as far as everyone knows, by our agendas, we've spent $40,000 here or $350, $35,000 here, and whatever the public doesn't know is that we haven't paid them if they don't show, but it also looks like we're not doing our job as far as getting people here. I personally would like to try to you know, if they're not here, let's move on to the next person. I feel like we're in the San Francisco Bay Area. There should be someone in all these 4 months that could have came out and mowed at this point. At this point, if, like I said, I think I saw a district lawnmower out in March. And so it's embarrassing. I feel sorry for the kids that had to walk on campus the first day. I feel sorry for the teachers that had to see piles of garbage when they arrived. We need to get it right, and we're wasting time over and over. And I don't, you know, as a board member, I feel frustrated. We're not getting this done more quickly. The other thing that was sort of an interesting red flag to me is I've asked all around about gophers, and I've yet to hear anyone say that they've seen a gopher maintenance person on any campus. So we went from one vendor that was about $15,000 cheaper than the vendor we have now. And where's this new vendor? I mean, you told this today, they've been here once a week.
Yeah, so I met with him, it was yesterday morning, he was at IBL.
Okay.
And Sunset Ridge, right after I left IBL, I was up there. A little while later, he shows up while I'm leaving. So he is, they have their vehicle, it's advanced IPM. You should see them around the district. And they are aggressively, I get the reports every time. I believe Josie also gets the reports. Every time he finishes, he sends us an updated report for each site, each date, and again, I can share all those records.
Yeah, because it's just, I've been paying attention to this for a really long time, and I'm just not seeing it. And then when I hear softball tell us, oh yeah, they're up there catching gophers. Well, why are they catching gophers if we've been paying for a gopher guy? You know, it just, and I realize we're chasing a wild animal and they're gonna pop back up, but it's a frustrating thing for me as a board member to not see actual results from the money that we're putting forth, you know, out of the community. So
the Cabrillo Field is being done by PAL, or not PAL, Pacifica Girls Softball League. But the grounds down below the front of the school is being treated by advanced IPM.
Okay.
And I've seen him there as well. I mean, is there a time that he shows up every day? No, but he does check in every day at the front office, and we can certainly check the records there. So I haven't heard anybody say that they haven't checked in.
And is there a system, say one of the clubs sees gophers that are starting to be active? Should they call you to get the gopher guys out there? Because usually the way these work.
So when we contracted with them, we knew that we had a lot of activity. And so that's why they're aggressively coming in so 6 sites, so they come in to every site throughout that week, and then they watch for activity and then come back again. So every week they come coming back. I see less activity so our fields are full of holes, right? They look like they're constantly active. But active holes, you have to see the dirt that comes up. And I have not seen as many active holes as I have in the past since this company has started. Again, they do check in at the front office of every site, and that should be recorded, so we know they're coming to the sites. I haven't heard yet from a site that they haven't seen the person or that person hasn't checked in.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good to hear.
Yes.
I guess that's my biggest things. I spent a lot of time talking to Dr. Olson about this, and a lot of time hearing feedback from the community, and it just, the schools should be a safe and a welcoming place for our kids, and they shouldn't have to be jumping over gopher holes or feeling like there's trash everywhere. And so I just want to do more for our kids. So So that's.
When we did the Ocean Shore field, we actually had a company come out and they rubbed the entire top of the field, which took away all the gopher holes. And then the field was they used hydro seeding, which is a product that it's not just seeding the ground, there's a fertilizer area that goes with it, so the birds, it doesn't get blown away, the birds can't eat it, and the field looked really good. I mean, for a while there. Unfortunately, we were still with the other abatement company, and they just weren't able to keep up with all of our fields, and we did get it. But we still had a lot of activity on that field. Now, if you go out there, even though it looks bad, there isn't as much gopher activity on that field, even though it's brown. Now, the hydroseeding is still there. Once we get the irrigation back up, it will start to grow again, and then there'll be a management of a weed and seed type of material where the fertilizer will bring the grass up, and then we'll start to kill off the weeds. Is it going to happen overnight? No, it's probably going to take as much time, almost as much time as when we originally kept the children off the field to get it to where it starts to look nice again.
My other question is, do you guys need more equipment? Do you need more leaf blowers and edgers and?
We have equipment. Some of it's old, some of it needs servicing, but it's still operational. The problem is we could buy a lot of weed whackers and a lot of blowers. It's having the people to operate them. Some of our sites are 10 acres of property. Granted, it's not all field, but a lot of our schools are smaller buildings, but a lot of real estate. And I've walked, like I said, I've walked the last week and this week I've walked with 3 different vendors. And these are large vendors, some of which have 500 employees that work for them, and they're all over. These are commercial companies that work in our area, around the San Francisco Bay Area, and we've asked for RFPs. We give them a scope of work, and that scope of work is to take care of every aspect of the field, whether it's irrigation and repair, filling gopher holes, grading, or not grading, but dragging the tracks and the infields to keep them weed-free. All part of the scope of work. The inner campuses, keeping grasses once it's established, and dirt off the sidewalks and where it belongs. All part of that scope of work. I can share that scope of work with you as well.
I think you brought up a good point in terms of equipment. I do think some of our mowing equipment is pretty old, and so not the highest priority. Highest priority is having people to do the work, but then we probably will want to develop some kind of fund to keep that. We typically fix old stuff, and we may want to be forward thinking about purchasing new equipment.
That's it for me.
Anybody else? Needy? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on to student enrollment update. Mr. Barfield?
Thank you. So it's the beginning of school, and it is a great time to check in on our student enrollment numbers. So we'll get it up there. Okay. So this slide here is, I just wanted to say that these enrollment numbers were actually taken 1 week ago. So these were as of August 24th, which is when we compiled the presentation and post. So there's a little bit of change from these numbers, not too much though. They're still fairly accurate. I know it's kind of hard to take in this kind of big global overview of numbers. We are very close to our enrollment from last year at this time. So we're 13 students over where we were last year at this time. The schools are kind of relatively around the same numbers. Sunset Ridge is is down from 422 last year at this time to 397. We also have less students on homeschool independent study this year, which we would have expected because last year we had an increase. We were at 54 last year at this time. We're at 35 now because we had more students choosing to go in independent study because of COVID. We also have the new TK class at Ortega, so we have a higher number there. But generally, we're pretty similar to where we were last year at this time. So yeah, similar enrollment, plus 13 students. Post-lottery, a good news is that the majority of families have received their first choice placement of schools. As a result, our wait lists right now are relatively small. There are a couple schools with nobody on the wait lists, and we have students continuing to be pulled from wait lists as spots become available at their desired schools on an ongoing basis. Obviously, we continue to enroll students throughout the school year as families move into the area. So overall, we're pretty similar to where we were last year as far as student enrollment. Happy to take any questions.
Question? Go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. How much does enrollment change between like August versus like Census Day in early October? Do we typically see increases, or is this? I think this is the number.
From August to early October.
Yeah, because I think the official enrollment is taken in October.
Yeah. I probably have to look at that. We'd look at that trend and we can get you that information. It's hard. I wouldn't know right off the top of my head. So I can find that and get that to you.
We tend to be very, very stable. I think the only big changes that we may see is that as we can call students off the wait list, that typically it's not additional students for us, it's where they're sitting, which school sites they're in.
We've had a few students at the beginning of the school year that were enrolled, and now they've actually moved to a different district. So they're no longer with the district. Kind of at the same time we get move-ins, it's like it literally just is a kind of balances itself out for the most part.
Yeah, because I'm just commenting on like pre-COVID enrollment was like 3,100 students or something around there. So if this is kind of where we think it's going to be, it's a pretty significant drop in general. And so, as Josie thinks about budgets in the long term, I'm wondering if this is like a near-term impact or if this is a new trend that we have to be aware of, that we're about 10% lower than pre-COVID.
And so just to amplify that what that comment is so if we're getting, one of the things with the governor's budget is we're receiving more money per student. The bad news is we have fewer students, so it ends up being a little bit of a wash. It's not more money for us. I mean, the budget was really quite generous, but when it's a per student allocation and you're losing students, that's kind of the piece that Josie talks about in terms of falling off a cliff.
And I also worry about when we're not in a surplus year. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but if it does, 300 students lower than typical is a big deal.
We have seen a little uptick in families that actually moved out during the pandemic and are coming back to Pacifica. In talking with Nicole Ortega, we've seen that trend a little bit happening too. So families returning to the area.
I don't know if you know the answer to this yet, but a lot of districts, it seems, since the pandemic, seem to be losing on average, 200 or 300 students, and they don't seem to be showing up other places. So the different articles are saying. And then I was realizing the other day they were really pushing the online California School, the K12.com, where people can work from home. I'm wondering if people, if they had a big boost when people stayed home for the pandemic, it was hard on some kids. Some kids it worked better for, maybe not the little ones, but But some of them, actually found that they could achieve better without being at school. And I was wondering if that was a possibility of where those kids had all disappeared to. Because if they moved out of one area, they'd still show up in another area. I didn't know if we get a report on the enrollment of that California, K12.com.
Right. I mean, we can look at all the publicly available data, but I'm fairly certain, and Nidhi, you're the one that brought this up, is that they don't seem to have gone to charter schools. Like the charter school enrollment has been stable.
Yeah, that's, I thought maybe the online school, maybe they're not going to a specific district.
Large percentage.
Yeah, I know, but they just one or two disappeared.
Anyway, I only mean that to say, I think this is important for us as we think about policies that impact future years and investments that impact future years, looking at the enrollment trends, if this is a consistent thing, and something to just be mindful of.
Because we're down 200 plus from pre-pandemic, and then here's one more year, kind of after, not after COVID, we're still in COVID, but we're kind of stagnant at that level, still down that 200 plus. So.
I think some of our research in the past, we were expecting a bubble, of students coming in and that they just disappeared.
Right.
I think it's also important, pre-COVID, and thinking back even a couple years before that, we used to have community outreach where, for example, in August, there would be a Pacifica School District event where we would be at the kinders. Parents would be able to go, and they'd be able to meet the PTOs and the board members and the superintendent and other employees. And we haven't had that in quite some time, and I think reaching out to the community like that and letting kindergarten parents come is really important. I also think that reaching out to our employees, the new teachers. Remember, we used to have a luncheon in August for all the new employees, the new teachers. Remember, we used to go and do that, and I think that's kind of disconnected us as well. And I think we need to get back to some of the community events that we used to do. And even though, a luncheon at TAMS might cost, $500 for the new teachers, new employees, I think that's really important. And I think that money that we're spending at that moment might seem like a lot, but in the end, if you build some more relationships, then it's worth it. And so we haven't been doing any of those things, and so I think we might consider coming back with, events like that.
So we did have new teacher orientation, and we did serve lunch. LSEA met with the new teachers right beforehand, and so we didn't go to a restaurant, mostly because we had a really limited amount of time and wanted to use that for the orientation part of that.
But this is where the board used to go as well, so that we could meet the new employees too, or meet the new kinder parents. So there's a disconnect there. And so I think there needs to be something where we're doing things like that in the community again. And I'm not saying that, is part of, the loss of enrollment. That's part of the pandemic too. But I think we could do better with the community and with the staff and the events we have.
Thank you. Next, we have a staffing update by Dr. Torres.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. I'm here to give you a staffing update, including our staff vacancies. For certificated positions, we have 3 that are open at this time. Cabrillo School has a resource specialist teacher position. Sunset Ridge has a special day class teacher position, K3, that someone was recently interviewed today. They offered them the position, and we're hoping that they accept. We have a school counselor open position at Sunset Ridge also. There is an interview that we are planning to set up for next week as well for that position. And today we filled the lead mental health counselor position, and she will have a start date later in September. For classified, we have 16 classified positions that are open at this time. At Ortega School, we have 2 paraprofessional positions open, one at TK and one at Paraprofessional Playworks. We do have a paraprofessional 1-to-1 that will be filled by an internal transfer. At Cabrillo School, we also have a paraprofessional 1-to-1 that will also be filled by an internal transfer soon. We do have an evening custodian position at Cabrillo School that is open, but there is an interview that is being set up, hopefully for Friday or early next week. At Ocean Shores School, we have 2 paraprofessional special day class positions open. At IBL School, we have a paraprofessional RSP that has been filled, but the candidate is completing onboarding this week. We are hoping that he can start next week. We have a paraprofessional 1-to-1 that is open, and a paraprofessional school climate that is open at IBL. At Valimar, we have 2 paraprofessional playworks positions that are open, but we have 2 interviews that are set up for this upcoming Friday. At Sunset Ridge School, we have recently filled the behaviorist position, and they will be starting after Labor Day. But we will be having 2 special day class paraprofessional positions open soon. Other positions that we have are 2 groundskeeper positions, but we do have 2 interviews that are set up, and they will be happening tomorrow. We have a custodian multi-site position that is open at this time, and we have 2 paraprofessional English language development that are open, but one of them will be filled with an internal transfer soon. Those are the positions that are open. I do want to let you know that the HR department has been working collaboratively with the Special Education and Student Services Department, with our principals, and with our labor partners during the hiring process. In addition, recruitment, we have put postings on Parent Square, newsletters, EdJoin, Craigslist, Indeed, LinkedIn, Nextdoor Pacifica, Pacifica Tribune, local community colleges, NDNU, Instagram, and also really spreading it through the word of mouth of our community. So we've been doing a lot of recruitment and just really being diligent regarding the screening process, trying to really bring in applicants that we would like to go through the selection process. So we screen them for classified employees. Once we screen them, we send them an online classified test, which they take. We read through the test, and we invite them to an interview. And then they're interviewed. We do a background check, and sometimes they don't pass the background check or the reference check. And then we have to just continue looking, right? So we are being very diligent regarding our screening and our hiring processes. And I'm happy to talk to anybody if they have any concerns.
Any questions?
Not particularly related to this, but one thing I will say is I've heard from other districts that they have a lot more certificated openings in their district, and so special education professionals has always been a challenge, statewide and potentially nationwide. But I'm really happy to see that there's classroom teachers. Not too many open positions like that. The question that I have is around the substitute pool. I know that we've built all these incentives around that. How are you feeling about that pool just for the continuity of learning throughout the year?
We are looking for more certificated substitutes. I just blasted on Parent Square this morning. I don't know if anyone saw, but I did blast it this morning, a specific flyer just for the certificated substitutes. Parents make amazing substitutes. So if they're interested, we do encourage them to apply, to call us. We can help with the application and the process of getting their transcripts to us, for us to analyze, see if they have the basic skills, or taking the CBEST test. So we do need more. We have some plans on using substitutes for regular sessions during the school year. So for example, having substitutes come in to relieve teachers to do IEP meetings or 504 meetings or SST or screen team meetings, so that those can happen during the day. And so the substitute would release a teacher that needs to attend the meeting. And so we're planning to do that. We talked with our LSMA partner just of the hardships that happened last school year regarding all the meetings and the additional times that everyone needs to stay after school, which prevented them from having more conversations regarding growing their people and their skills and their strategies, and having principals give feedback and coaching. So really trying to get that time back from them by giving them consistent roving subs to do those meetings. So we are looking for substitutes that are consistent. We're continuing the commitment incentive, and just really getting the word out. We're hoping to hopefully post for these regular positions, like maybe Thursdays at this school, Tuesdays at this school, and so we need more substitutes. But every day we have new people that apply and that call HR regarding the process. So we can never have too many.
Yeah, and then in transparency and honesty, we're looking at Maestra Torres, the kindergarten teacher at Valamar this week. We're looking at the 4th grade teacher at Valamar. So that shorthandedness, we really are working hard to try to limit the amount of times we ask principals to substitute. Last year they did a fair amount of subbing. But when you have, in some of our special day class positions that are being filled with a long-term sub, or we have just a handful of teachers that are out on leave through the end of the month, or others. So kind of the combination of moving past those leaves and getting more people, more would help. The question is, with our recent LSEA salary increase, that also resulted in an increase for our substitutes as well. So I think their daily rate is $182.
$182 and $212.
And $212. President Ellsburn would point out to me that number is below 200, which means that if someone had a choice between us and a neighboring district that paid 200, they might choose the other district. So we haven't considered raising that. What we're looking at is that increased figure with the frequent flyer incentive is what we're looking at. But I think if we need to consider an increase in substitute pay, we could do that.
I'm just curious about the paras. Why is it so difficult to get the applicants for the paraprofessionals?
Why is it so difficult? I'm not sure why it's so difficult. I think it's just hiring has been very hard for us, particularly classified this school year. But when I look and I talk to our HR leaders in the county, everybody's kind of struggling with the classified positions. They're also advertising, a lot, just as we are, for classified positions. And it's, everybody has started school and they're all trying to fill these positions. So it's a very small pool that we're all grabbing from. And really, I think it's our Pacifica residents that want to work here. They want to work locally. So it's just getting the word out and spreading the word.
Just a real quick question. First of all, thank you for all the work you're doing, because it's a lot of employees to employ. But I was just curious, what's the onboarding process? How many days is that? Say we tell the person they've got a job tomorrow, how many days would we expect until they're able to work on our campuses?
So the selection process, as soon as an applicant applies, HR is screening them. And if they pass the screening, we send them an email with their online. So if it's a classified employee, it's a classified online test. If they pass the screening, they take the online test, we read it, and then we schedule an interview. So at that point, we're asking the principals and our labor partner, and then a representative at their school that represents that union, like, when can you interview? Give us days and times. And so we're setting up interviews really quick because we're trying to get them in. So after the interview, they let us know, would they like to move forward with this person or not? Did they have reservations? Were there red flags? And we have a discussion. After that discussion, we do reference checks. If they pass the reference checks, we offer them the position, and we send them an onboarding packet, which includes a live scan document for them to get fingerprinted. As soon as they get fingerprinted and they give either a TB test or a TB assessment now that they can do, we ask them, when are you comfortable starting? Sometimes they have another job that they have to give a notice to, so it's depending on that. But the fingerprints usually takes 24 hours if it's an easy fingerprinting. Sometimes it's more difficult because somebody may have a record, right? And then it'll take about at least 2 days. And other times there's other difficulties, such as like names that don't match or something that doesn't match. But usually it's 24 hours.
A delay does not necessarily mean that they're not qualified. There are just some trickier things.
Right. They can still possibly get the job, but we have to look at what's coming back. Is it something that would affect their position?
Sure.
So we'll look at that. But as soon as it comes back, we say, here's your start date, or when can you start? We have a conversation. We let the principal know, and then we do, and so that's what the onboarding.
It's mainly the turnaround time for the live scan once we've offered them the job.
Right.
Or if they need to leave their current position. That's
right.
the other
Okay.
Right.
Well, I'm glad to hear that's a lot faster than it used to be.
Yeah, we're trying to get it really quick. For certificated, it's a little bit different. There's no online test. If we screen somebody, we select them for an interview. We set up the interview. They interview. We do reference checks, background checks. We offer them the position, and then we go forward from there.
Okay.
So it's really quick. We just need the applicants.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, consolidated application 2022-2023. Mr. Lucy?
Yes, so this is the consolidated app that needs your approval for the 22-23. And I just wanted to kind of give a little bit of a background because this is kind of an odd time of the year that we'd be asking for this approval. The consolidated app annually is done by the end of June. And the Pacifica School District submits the spring release of the application to document participation in various federal programs and provide assurances that it will comply with the legal requirements of each program. The program entitlements are determined by formulas contained within the laws that created the program. This year, due to delays in the spring release on August 1st, that's when it was released actually on August 1st, this August, 2022, the deadline for the certification of it was moved back to September 12th, 2022. The attached document is the proposed certification of the 22-23 spring release. There's also an annual winter release application that is submitted at the end of February. I'm assuming that will also be delayed, but not totally sure on that. But normally it's submitted at the end of February each year. Contained in the Pacifica School District entitlements for each of the funded programs. For each of the federal program entitlements, Pacifica School District allocates funds for the program as indicated by the program requirements. The CONAP is also done in combination or in chorus with the LCAP process and also the LCAP federal addendum. So the stakeholder and community involvement meetings that are conducted do have an influence on the CONAP and what is submitted within the CONAP. The LCAP federal addendum and the CONAP are reviewed and approved by all those are reviewed and approved by the school board. So do you have any questions with regards to that?
Do I have a motion to approve the 2022-2023 consolidated application to the California State Department of Education?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Barbara, will you take the vote, please?
Yes, all in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. And now, outdoor education overnight field trips approval, and this is Mr. Lucy again.
Yes, I love doing this one every year. It is because I was a 5th grade teacher and I went to outdoor ed many, many years. So this is a recommendation for the board to approve the following overnight field trips. I won't read them through there, but there are 2 in September. At the end of September, 2 schools that are going, 5th graders are going into September on the same week, which is great. And then there's Cabrillo's going in October. And then we have Ortega in March and Valimar in April.
Any questions? Do I have a motion to approve the outdoor education overnight field trips as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And Barbara, will you take the vote, please?
Yes, all in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 5-0.
All right, future agenda items, Dr. Olson?
Yep, so just in summary, many of them are our beginning of the school year reports out to you or mandatory items. We have traditionally done an HR update where we talk about our new hires as well as our teaching staff. We this year really want to highlight the support for new teachers because we've formalized that in a way that hasn't been quite as structured before. And then any of the new hires that we have. So we'll bring you the salary schedules, and we feel like the end of September we will be prepared to do a report out on summer school, the 3 summer school programs that we had. Are there any other items that you would like on the September agenda? Meeting?
I don't know if it's September or October, so the timing, I'm not too strict on the recommendation, but just given a lot of the press, I mentioned this before around the science of reading and looking at reading curriculum that's more evidence-based and focused on phonics instruction versus the curriculum that really has been used nationwide that Lucy Calkins did around the Readers and Writers Workshop. I'm just curious if we could learn a little bit more about the current practices in the district and how the district is thinking about given that evidence and given kind of that information, are there changes planned and what have you on reading instruction?
Okay. We will look at the timing of that. Probably not September. Laura?
I'm just thinking of the future. It's kind of just dangling as the fields following up on where we are with that, and maybe a special meeting, conversation meeting, something.
A conversation meeting on the fields?
Yeah, just so that it's really, after hearing everybody, it's really an important part of the kids' mental health, their love for the sports. And, you know, it's here at the schools where we have the fields. And I think that it's just like an ongoing thing, and that kind of bothers me. And I don't know if we need to talk about it or find other ideas just specifically instead of like what we did tonight in the meeting. We talked about it, we heard people, but then what?
Okay, if the board feels that a special meeting would be, I personally think that, you know, it's my intention to get some staff in there as well as having a contractor and seeing what kind of progress that we can make. I think if within 3 or 4 meetings we're not seeing any other human beings available to do that work, then I think that's when it would seem like.
So maybe November?
Right. So if there's no progress, November seems like a time to do that. So, okay.
Anything else?
That is it.
All right, I'll adjourn the meeting at 9:24.
Thank you.
And I have to run.
Goodbye.
Record.